Hello and welcome to eveTV channel. Today, we will discuss a summary of the movie Lawless, 2012. The film tells the story of a family known as the Bondurant brothers. According to legend, the Bondurants cannot be killed by anything. Even the most ruthless gangsters in the area refuse to mess with the Bondurant family. One day, a new deputy arrives in their town, and upon hearing about this, he underestimates them and claims that he will prove the legend wrong. What will the Bondurant brothers do if this deputy keeps pressuring them? Let's find out their story. In 1931, in Franklin, Virginia, there were three brothers known as the Bondurant brothers. They were Howard, the oldest sibling; Forrest, the second son, who was very calm, wise, and had strong life principles; and the youngest, Jack, who was shy and weak. The Bondurant brothers always believed in the legend that said they couldn't be killed. It was not without reason. Howard was a former soldier who fought in the war, and when all his battalion perished at sea, he was the sole survivor. Meanwhile, during a virus outbreak that swept through the region, Forrest managed to survive. Because of these reasons, the Bondurant brothers strongly believed in their family legend that they couldn't be killed by anything. And since they embodied the essence of that legend, they exuded great confidence in every situation. They earned their living by running an illegal liquor business, which was prohibited by the state. Every day, they would smuggle liquor to their business associates in bars around the local area. One night, they were delivering the moonshine to a bar. Forrest and Howard went inside to make the transaction, while Jack was asked to wait and guard their car outside. Suddenly, a few thugs appeared and threatened Jack with knives, demanding money. Jack looked panicked. Luckily, Forrest and Howard had already finished their transaction. Seeing their younger brother being harassed, Forrest and Howard initially appeared calm, giving some advice. Then the thugs were beaten up by Howard and Forrest. The Bondurant brothers continued their journey to a bar. There, Jack noticed a girl and seemed to be attracted to her. The girl's name was Berta. Howard informed Jack that Berta was the daughter of a preacher in that area. The next day, as Forrest walked into his bar, he saw a woman waiting for him. This woman's name was Maggie. He came to apply for a job at the bar. Forrest gladly hired Maggie to work at his bar. While Forrest and Howard were relaxing at the bar, they were suddenly approached by a man named Pete. It turns out Pete came to introduce a special government deputy named Charlie. He didn't come alone, but with a lawyer named Mason Wardell. They came from Chicago to make a new deal regarding the illegal sale of alcohol freely available there. It was a kind of bribe to ensure their business could bypass all the counties. Sharif added that all the counties would surely agree to this to avoid legal procedures. Forrest, who was never afraid of anyone, of course, rejected the offer. Deputy Charlie seemed to underestimate Forrest, but he didn't care and said that he wasn't interested in their offer. Elsewhere, Jake, who was transporting goods, suddenly stopped when he saw Floyd Banner, the most ruthless gangster in Virginia. Jack witnessed him casually shooting at a car at that location. Jack then picked up the bullet casing and brought it to his good friend named Cricket. That night, all the liquor business owners gathered to discuss the new deal offered by the deputy. They were worried that they could be arrested or fined if they didn't accept it, because the sale of alcoholic beverages is indeed prohibited in the country. Here, Forrest said that he wouldn't bow to anyone. He walked away and left them. In the morning, Sheriff Pete and Deputy Charlie were having breakfast and discussing. Sheriff mentioned that Forrest was different from others. He was tough and couldn't be killed. Charlie chuckled and said, "No one lives forever in this world." After that, Charlie visited Cricket's house. He got information that Cricket knew about the distillery location and also where they stored the money from bootleg liquor sales. While threatening Cricket, Jack arrived and said that Cricket knew nothing about it. Charlie, who just found out that Jack was one of the Bondurant brothers, then severely beat him up. Then, he ordered Cricket to send a message to Forrest that Charlie would be coming for them too. After some time, Jack went to the bar and met Forrest there. Hearing Jack's story, Forrest didn't defend him, but advised him to stay strong in the face of this harsh life. Jack said he couldn't fight like his brothers, and it made him feel like a cowardly weakling. Forrest replied that feeling afraid was normal and it's okay. However, we must learn to control it. The next day, while Forrest was sitting outside, he was approached by Sheriff, who delivered a message from Charlie. Suddenly, Howard came out and attacked them both. Howard was about to douse them with gasoline, but Forrest stopped him and told them never to come to his house again. Later that night, 2 men disturbed Maggie at the bar, and Forrest drove them away. However, they resisted, and Forrest ended up beating them and dragging them out. Forrest was annoyed because Howard had not yet returned, and they had a client appointment in the city. After the fight, Maggie tended to Forrest's injuries. Afterward, she said her goodbyes and went home. Maggie had feelings for Forrest, but he was unaware of it. As Maggie left, Forrest noticed that the car trunk was open, so he went to check it, but suddenly, as Maggie was on her way home, she had a bad feeling and decided to return to the bar to look for Forrest. However, he wasn't there. It turned out that the 2 men from earlier were waiting for her inside the bar. What happened next? The next day, the scene shifts to Forrest being treated at the hospital, with Howard and Jack standing there, admiring Forrest's resilience as he manages to walk kilometers despite his throat being slashed. Shortly after, Maggie arrives and expresses her desire to leave the town, but Forrest stops her and urges her to stay at his place. Meanwhile, Jack tells Howard that there's someone in town willing to pay a high price for their bootleg liquor. He asks for permission to go since Forrest is still recovering. Howard refuses, suspecting that the buyer is none other than the ruthless gangster, Floyd Banner. Ignoring Howard's refusal, Jack secretly takes the keys and convinces Cricket to join him. That night, while they are conducting the transaction, they find themselves ambushed by the gangsters who have prepared a grave to bury them in. As Floyd Banner prepares to shoot Jack, Jack reveals his name to him. Hearing the name Bondurant, Floyd decides not to kill Jack. Instead, he takes Jack to his office and gives him money along with the names of the people who slashed Forrest's throat. He reveals that they were his former henchmen who left him to work for Charlie. Floyd adds that Jack should consider this information a gift from him to Forrest. After Jack and Cricket left, Floyd immediately executed his henchman who had caught Jack earlier. He blamed him for almost getting into trouble with the Bondurant brothers. The next day, when Jack arrived, he handed over the money from the sales and hoped to receive recognition from his brother, who had always told him to stay for every big transaction. Jack then gave Forrest the address provided by Floyd. With the commission money he earned from the significant sale, Jack promptly bought a gift to give to Bertha, who was currently near him. That night, when Jack returned home, he found only Maggie there. Maggie told him that Howard and Forrest had gone to the address Jack had provided earlier. Jack rushed to that location and discovered that Forrest and Howard had already taken care of those people. Jack was instructed to bring the severed genitals of those individuals to Charlie. As a result of Charlie's actions, all the liquor business owners eventually submitted to him, fearing legal trouble. One of Forrest's cousins was brutally tortured, drenched in hot asphalt, and left dead in front of Forrest's house. In that territory, only the Bondurant brothers refused to bow down to Charlie, which posed a threat to their safety. As Jack grew closer to Bertha, he took her for a walk to his brother's moonshine distillery, located deep in the woods. Unbeknownst to them, Charlie was actually following them and swiftly surrounded the location. Jack instructed Cricket to take Bertha away from there, while Howard, upon seeing Charlie approaching with his gang, prepared to confront them. As Charlie's gang had already surrounded the place, Jack and Howard decided to escape, leaving Bertha and Cricket behind. Eventually, Bertha was released, but Cricket was executed by Charlie. Afterward, Charlie and his gang set the distillery on fire. When they returned home, Forrest scolded Jack for causing the chaos. Jack apologized for the distillery's destruction, and as a consequence, Forrest's car was impounded, and the money from the distillery's sales was taken. Forrest told Jack that it wasn't about the money, but about principles in life. Howard walked in and delivered the news that Cricket was found dead. Jack was deeply devastated upon hearing this, as he was saddened by the loss of his loyal and faithful friend due to his own recklessness. Sheriff Pete arrived at Forrest's house, and Jack, still furious, came to confront him. Sheriff claimed that he and his gang had nothing to do with Cricket's death. He also informed them that Wardell's lawyer had sent additional forces from the city to help Charlie capture the Bondurant brothers, who refused to comply with their rules. The bridge used as an access point in and out of town had been closed off by Charlie and his men. Without wasting much time, Jack armed himself and headed towards the bridge to find Charlie. Forrest and Howard followed him, concerned that Jack might do something regrettable. After seeing the Bondurant brothers heading towards the bridge, the townspeople followed them. Jack called out Charlie's name as he descended from the bridge, and without hesitation, Charlie shot Jack. As Charlie was about to approach Jack, Forrest and Howard arrived at the scene, and a shootout ensued. Tensions escalated further as the townspeople arrived armed. Witnessing the situation getting out of control, Sheriff Pete shot Charlie in the leg to prevent further chaos. Forrest got injured during the shootout, and Jack immediately chased after Charlie, with Howard following closely behind. Eventually, Charlie met his demise. Several years later, the Bondurant family had changed. They were married, had children, and had become law-abiding citizens. In 1933, the prohibition on alcohol was lifted, and Franklin County became the largest whiskey-producing area. In the same year, lawyer Wardell was arrested on corruption charges. This marks the end of the plot of the film Lawless. That's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. And do subscribe our channel to see more videos related to movies and series suggestions.